Hey, it's Casey.
And Lauren.
And this is
Magnum BI, the podcast where we dive deep into a new topic each week.
Per usual, we're going to bring forth a little bit of comedy,
A little bit of banter.
banter. I almost said a horror.
Horror. Yes.
And I'm sorry.
A stroke, apparently.
Yes. Sorry. I just recovered from my third bout of COVID-19.
Everyone give Casey a round of applause for surviving the plague again.
Please don't clap for me having COVID-19 for the third time.
Well, you lived a third time, so that's something to celebrate.
I know. I am very fortunate because, none of my cases have been really extreme, whatever. I am very, very fortunate. But it just, A, the fact that I had it 3 times. B, this one was by far my worst one.
Really?
And I didn't have, a fever. I just, felt horrible. And, I still have some pretty crazy brain fog.
Oh, really?
Thus, me saying...
a little bit of horror.
A little bit of horror. But anyway, I live to tell another story.
I'm so happy you're back.
Thanks.
I'm so happy we're back. Casey and I realized in the midst of preparing to set up for this episode that this is almost the 1-year anniversary of us recording the first episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Because last year, at this exact same time, pretty much, we were talking about how we didn't want to be single on Valentine's Day as we were recording the Sneha Phillips episode. And Tinder notifications were popping up on my phone. And now here we are, once again, to do the internet dating episode 1 year later.
And here we are, once again.
God, the circle just keep... Still single.
Still single. Still getting Tinder notifications on our phones.
Well, actually, I am no longer getting Tinder notifications on my phone. And we're going to talk about why that is in this episode.
Because you think you're better than me.
Yeah.
Got it. Your friend survives COVID 3 times, and this is how you treat him.
And I've only had COVID once, so it still stands. I am better than you.
I don't want to do this podcast with you anymore.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
So, just for the sake of the theme music cue, what are we talking about this week, Lauren?
We're talking about internet dating.
Let's get into it.
Woo! Okay, so for this episode, I didn't really do any research outside of my own personal experiences because I don't think there's really much to talk about in terms of Tinder or Hinge or Animal Jam, which we're also going to be discussing. But I do think we should start off this episode with a conversation concerning queer people and dating apps, because when I officially started putting myself out there and trying to do some internet dating, which we'll get to eventually, it was because the dating pool in my school for queer women was very small. And by the time I was putting myself out there on Tinder, I had already dated 2 of the 4. So I was like, you know what? It's time to broaden my horizons. Hopefully the grass is greener elsewhere. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure you've had similar experiences, trying to find other people with similar interests on, any dating app you can think of. But I feel like for queer people specifically, we, try and do that a little bit more.
Yeah. Which I think, for obvious reasons, harkens to the fact that, like you said, it is harder to find queer people in non-queer spaces.
Absolutely.
And thus the importance, especially historically, of gay bars and gay venues and things like that. And I think a lot of that has now moved onto dating apps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The trouble though, and I'm speaking only from the experience of a queer man because I genuinely don't know what it's like for queer women as much, but the dating apps that are designed for queer men, i.e. Grindr, are sex apps.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know of anybody ever who has gone on Grindr, A, without the explicit intention of only having no strings attached sex.
Yes.
Or B, who has come out of a Grindr like hookup with a long-term partner. Like, I know that happens, and especially if you follow Grindr's Instagram, they always post photos of like these like big gay bear men who met on Grindr and are married.
Found love.
Yeah, no, they always do, and it's always like white, like big,
Yep.
muscular, burly men who are now in love through Grindr. But
Yep.
like in my day-to-day experience, I've never met a person who did that, which, you know, speaks to a deeper thing of, I guess gay bars have always been to an extent for hookups and for cruising and stuff, but it's like, will there ever be a gay dating app that is for love and is not for sex first?
Or, to take it one step further, will there ever be queer spaces that do not have alcohol or the implication of sex attached?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I, you know, as a younger queer person had like, I don't know, a fucking bookstore or a coffee shop where I could have gone and met queer people my age other than my school's GSA, which, let's be frank, was a cesspool.
Yeah.
I think I would have just completely foregone the apps entirely and would have like made real human connections with people instead of just like, I don't know, hoping that I could find my soulmate on Tinder, which realistically is also probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, what do you think about Tinder makes it so that you feel it's not likely to find your soulmate on there? Is it the population of people that are on there? Is it the premise of a dating app? Like, what about it makes you feel like you're not going to find your soulmate on Tinder?
I think the setup of Tinder is what does it for me, because even if we compare something like Tinder and Hinge, there's two very distinct setups when it comes to even the formatting of the apps. Tinder is all about first impressions, which, let's be frank, it's about, are you attracted to this person or not? It's a very cursory, like, would I do them, wouldn't I? And then you swipe.
Yeah.
At least with Hinge, you're like forced to look at the information where it's like, this person is really into Marvel, or, you know, they have a funny voice prompt, and then you can kind of like gauge who they are as a person before. At least I do. I like to look at the prompts before I look at the pictures.
Oh. Okay.
And then kind of like build an idea of what I think this person would be like if I met them in person. Versus in Tinder, you kind of have to like look a little bit deeper to get that personal information, because that's not the point of the app.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, before I say that, for the people who are listening, i.e. like our parents or our parents' generation who don't know like the nuances of how these apps are different, I think there's a really important distinction between how Tinder operates as a platform and how like Hinge and Bumble, as you brought up, operate as platforms.
Yes.
So like Tinder, and please like correct me if your experience is different or whatever, but as you said, is very looks based. It is very like dopamine triggering. Like you immediately see a photo and you swipe right or left, and you can engage further with information about them, but it's very like cursory. You decide quickly. And then like Hinge and Bumble, which are more set up for long-term relationships, are more akin to like Match.com.
Oh yeah.
Are for like getting to know someone and finding out more about them before you agree to have a conversation with them. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And especially in the case of Bumble, they they make the woman message first after
I
they
didn't
match.
even think about that. Yeah. Oh, that's something too.
So there has to be like a little bit more to like the profile, at least for me to want to make that first move, because I don't know. I like to think I'm still a little bit of a girly girl deep down. I want someone to make the first move for me. So unless I really think this person has something worth like, I don't know, pursuing, I'm not going to make the first move.
Valid.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm picky.
No, you should. I mean, as you should be. Yeah. I totally get that. I think that's an interesting concept too, of the woman making the first move, because like, okay, from my experience, as someone who's on these dating apps and is bisexual,
Yes.
and is a man,
Yes.
I have both men and women coming up in my feed, and like I sort through, which sounds weird, but like I have options of both men and women.
Yeah. No. Same.
religiously, like religiously, it is so much, I match with so many more men than I do with women.
That's interesting.
And I would say, like, I swipe equally. Like, I initiate equally with men and women. It's not like I'm mostly saying yes to men, but the amount of men who agree with me and, like, also want to get to know me versus the amount of women who want to get to know me there's a huge difference. So I think platforms like Bumble make sense because where the woman has to initiate a conversation first, because women are more picky. I mean, how could I phrase that differently?
No,
like, do you agree with that?
No, I agree, because same thing here. I like to think that I also swipe pretty much indiscriminately. Or, well, what am I trying to say? I definitely, like, take a look at the profiles, and if I see something I don't like they still like Kanye West in the Lord's year of 2023, I don't swipe on the profile.
No.
But,
no.
You know, like, men, women, people in between, whoever, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll swipe depending on whether or not I find them attractive, and I think there's a pretty even split between men and women in that regard, but I also don't match with as many women as I do with men. And I wonder if that has some kind of, like, sociological implication. Like, I don't know, like the whole casual sex thing with men versus with women.
Yeah, definitely.
Meeting new people as a queer person. And I always wonder if I present queer enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, when you're trying to date in queer spaces online, I feel like you either have people that look entirely straight passing or completely 100% queer, and there's almost no in between.
Yes.
And it's like you can either tell at a first glance whether or not they fit the vibe, and certain sects of gay people will go after certain aesthetics. Like, some of the straight passing people will end up dating one another, and some of the, like, queer passing exclusive people will exclusively date one another.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic. I don't know if this is making sense.
No, I agree. I fully agree with you, and I think that's probably also part of the reason why, like, maybe why I don't match with as many women is because, like, my profile says bisexual man. And, like, I think I am relatively straight passing, maybe, depending on the setting. I dress well.
You do dress well, and that's a red flag.
Thank you. But it's one I'll take. But it's like, I think that I do present myself as bi in these spaces, i.e. Tinder, that are not explicitly queer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that has implications for both of us.
Absolutely, because I think we kind of, like, I almost said swing the opposite way. No, we experience different problems in that same sphere, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, straight women seeing a bisexual man are, like, kind of turned off from it, honestly. Like, extremely straight women, you know, because there's, like, all the, like, shitty messaging about, like, bisexual men and, like, cheating, and it's the same thing for bi women with lesbians, let's be real.
That's
and
a good point.
It's the exact
Sorry,
and it's the exact opposite when, like, a straight man sees a bisexual woman, because he's like, that's my door to a threesome. So I have like do you get what I'm saying? I have, like, almost the opposite problem.
I think with and this is a conversation deeper than dating apps, but, like, with bi men, yes, I don't think an exclusively straight normie-esque woman would necessarily want to date a bi man for all of those stereotypes that you just brought forward.
Yes.
This is, again, off topic from dating apps specifically, but my Nana, my sweet, loving, like, 84-year-old Nana.
Shout out Nana Adrian.
Love you, Nana Adrian. She just took us out to dinner last night. We had a lovely time.
Aww.
She was talking to me about dating, like, a couple months ago.
Oh.
And she was like, do you have trouble with girls if they know that you have been with men? And I was like, no, I think some women like queer men. And this is the exact conversation I had with her. I think some women like queer men because, you know, queer men, just by virtue of queerness, are more, like, empathetic and open-minded, not always obviously, but just can kind of see the world a little bit differently. And she was like, yeah, it must be nice for some women to know that you have a feminine side. And I was like, she thinks I'm skinny.
Oh, she thinks I'm cunty. Thank you, Nana.
But it's like, I do think that's true. And, there are some women on Tinder that I swipe right on, i.e., like, I want to have a conversation with them, and they fully shock me because I'm like, I thought this was a sorority sister, but all of a sudden we matched, But then there are a lot of sorority sister looking girls who I'm like, yeah, there's no way that they would want to be with a bi guy.
I don't know, maybe it's just like a bit of lingering misogyny in my own head, but I have like a bit of a fear of sorority girls.
Oh no, that's
like,
fine.
Especially like going back to high school, it's like, oh god, please don't bully me. Oh my
god. That's so fine.
Oh yeah. But
have you found okay, I have 2 questions. I'll start with, have you found a lot of women on Tinder who you have a little bit of like maybe internalized biphobia toward, who you see and they're very straight presenting, and you're like, do you have your app set to women just like for funsies? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because and this is my personal experience, I've had to quit trying to find queer women on Tinder specifically because you will get catfished 7 out of 10 times. Because what happens is you will have a woman who is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, 10 out of 10. And I'm looking through the profile, I'm looking at all the stuff, and I'm like, oh, this person likes the same music I do. This is really cool. We have the same Myers-Briggs. Awesome. And I'm going through the profile, and I get to the last picture, and she's standing there with the ugliest man you have ever seen in your entire life. And you look at the profile, and it says, looking for a third. Unicorn hunting, looking for fun for me and my boyfriend. And I hate that more than anything on this earth. I detest that because if you're a couple that's looking for a third, just be for real. Like, don't try and trick people. Like, that's not cute. And I don't know. I'm also not the biggest fan of like women wanting to pursue queer relationships just like for shits and giggles. I think that whole thing is tired, and I'm personally sick of it. I'm sick of like women making out with each other at parties, just being like, oh my boyfriend's watching. Like, isn't this so hot? Like, I think it's derivative. I think it's minimizing of like queer experiences for people that have like been actively bullied and had to deal with discrimination, and like, I could go on. Yeah. It makes me so peeved. No, but big tangent there.
No, I get it. And my experience is different because like bi men, like I don't have that experience at all. I can't really relate to that, but I think the difference is like, if you want to experiment and you want to try shit and you want to have fun, go for it. But like when there are marches and when there are like demands to be made and when there are health crises and when there are policies that are proposed, you better also show up and help with that shit too.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You need to like be in the field if you're gonna
if you're gonna make out with your girlfriends for your boyfriend's attention, you had better be on the streets marching. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. And there's a difference too if you're closeted because like you truly are queer, but you like, don't feel safe or are not in a position to come out or whatever. Like, yes, but like if you are just like experimenting, like experiment, fine, sure, go for it. That's very important. But like, like I said, you also gotta be like, gotta be fighting for us.
That would be cool. It would be a lot better than you like trying out an identity like a shirt and then taking it off afterwards because the experience doesn't affect you in that way.
Eesh. Yeah. And also no, dear listener, that we're saying this as bi people.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not saying this as like gay people who are biphobic. Like, we're not saying this being like bisexuality doesn't exist. Like, we're saying this as like,
this is our lived experience as two bisexual people on a podcast called Magnum BI. So like, get into it.
what do you think about men on dating apps fetishizing you for being bi? Has that happened to you?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. It's really sad, honestly. It's gotten to the point where, like, aside from just not being on dating apps at all anymore, which I am not, I've even considered, like, you know, blocking that information from my profile, which is unfortunate because I don't want to, like, you know, hide an aspect of myself that I'm not ashamed of to, you know, potentially avoid fetishization. But at the same time, it's really, really weird when, like, your first conversation with someone is just a lead up to, so can I watch you make out with my girlfriend?
That's so gross.
Yeah.
Also,
or like,
why are you on here?
Exactly. Or like this will be like after I've been tricked by the looking for a third profile, you know. It's like we just think you're so hot and me and my boyfriend would love to watch you, like blah, 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 blah. It's like that's awful.
That's awful.
That's so awful.
That's so, yeah.
And it's completely turned me off from like any kind of dating app shit for the foreseeable future, I would argue.
For good reason.
Even though, like, it is really nice to, like, have that, like we talked about, that constant influx of dopamine, the validation. Like, I think every human being likes to be told they're hot. That's just...
Yeah.
That's just what it is. So, you know, it is nice to be told over and over again, this person thinks you're attractive. And you're like, oh, it's nice, because I also think they're attractive. But at what cost?
But then it also, like, in my experience, that constant dopamine hit is great and it feels really good. But then it's like it's a game.
Yeah, it absolutely feels like a game because Tinder has like, oh, you can boost your profile for $5.
What the fuck is that? I've never done that in my life.
I've never done
I don't know what
either.
that even means.
Like, are you, like, respectfully, how desperate are you?
Also, not for nothing. Like, boosting your profile does not mean that people are going to like want you. Yeah, no, that just means you're gonna show up first.
Unless, of course, there are bots that will like your profile more to get you that dopamine to get you to keep buying the booster.
Oh yeah,
that's my thought.
No, that's actually really smart.
Because then you're like, oh, Svetlana in Sweden thinks I'm so attractive.
You know, all the Swedes named Svetlana.
I don't know. or Katya from Russia thinks I'm so hot, so I have to keep buying the booster. And then the message is just like, hi, handsome, smiley face.
That's like, actually makes so much sense.
That's why I'm a woman in STEM. I'd be having big thoughts.
When she neuroscience. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, yeah.
That's my theory. That's my theory. It's just a Tinder theory.
I've just had so many times when I go on Tinder and I match with these people and then I look through my like list of matches and I'm like, I don't actually want to really talk to any of you.
Yeah, I'm not interested. And it's crazy because I will confess, after I got out of high school and I had a bit of a glow up, I did go back to my hometown to hit Tinder and see who from my high school I could match with. Not because I was interested in any of them, just because I wanted to see what kind of pull I had now.
Yeah.
Versus what kind of pull I had when I was like 18 and acne prone and awkward and I had short hair and I looked like a dyke. And so getting back to my hometown and swiping on a bunch of people and being like, oh, you think I'm hot now? Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing ego boost. But did I want to speak to any of them? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but
no, and in a lot of those cases, like in that case and in my case, it's like no harm, no foul.
No, you know?
Like
absolutely.
For a lot of people, it's like no harm, no foul. But it at the same time is like at the end of the day, when you do that and then you step back from it and you're like, oh, these are all real people.
Which is crazy to think about.
Which is cool, because it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel
real.
like they're real people.
I will say that I did have one experience when I went to the university at Buffalo that did kind of change my perspective on the whole swiping for fun thing a tiny bit. And it was when I was friends with this guy named Gregory, who was on Tinder, you know, as we all were freshman year of college, and was like swiping on all these girls. And I, at the time, had a very big crush on Gregory because I thought he was really cute and we hung out all the time. And I was like, you know, a little jealous because he was talking about how he was on Tinder and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, yeah, but like no one messages me. And I was like, what do you mean? Because on my end, I had like probably 200 like messages racked up on my side, you know, just from like swiping, getting that dopamine. And I go and look at his profile and he has one match.
Oh.
And we had downloaded the app probably at the same time, if not like, you know, he had downloaded it sooner or whatever. And I was shocked because I was under the impression that everyone else had the same amount of pull that I did.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that I'm more attractive, you know, or anything like that. I was just floored because I was like, oh shit, it's not the same for everybody else.
No, and like it really affects some people.
Absolutely.
Like, it genuinely, and for some people, when Gregory got that one match, I'm sure he was like,
he was through the moon.
Oh, and he was probably obsessed with her, and he's like going to her profile and like trying to find her on Instagram.
He's like, I can't wait to hear from her, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go on a date, this, that, the other thing. And I don't remember if it went anywhere, but I don't think it did.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think. Like, I don't know. Like
and
we said, it doesn't feel real.
I know. I 100% feel that. That's like, that's such a shitty, like, aha, I guess, like, clarity moment to have when you're like, yeah, these people on the other end of the screen right now could be like genuinely really wanting a connection or could be really, really lonely or could, you know, hypothetically, if something doesn't go somewhere, they might just like really need a friend.
Yeah.
And then you're just like using them as like these weird little ways to stroke your ego.
Yes.
It's not a good feeling.
No, it really isn't. And it's so weird to like
and
come to that realization.
It is. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but like it's also like we're not being like, yeah, we're so hot, and like sometimes we don't think about our pull, and like,
yeah, exactly.
Like that's not what I mean because
no.
I'm sure there are people who like get, you know, I'm sure there are people like Gregory who get one match and then also just like don't give a fuck, you know. But like, what do you think now about Tinder? Having like, I don't know when did you delete Tinder?
Oh. I think it was late August.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, I don't know if this was a thing when you had it, but now there's like a feature where it explicitly asks like, what are you looking for?
No kidding.
Yeah. And it shows on their, it's optional, but it shows on their profile like.
Oh, I think I remember this.
Yeah.
It might have been right before I deleted it.
It's a good feature.
It is.
Because it shows like, because also we're saying this about Tinder, like they're the first people to do it. I don't think, because I'm pretty sure Bumble and Hinge have always had this.
Oh, yeah. Hinge specifically.
Hinge definitely, yeah. But it says like, look, I'm looking for long term. I'm looking for short term, but I'm open to long. I'm looking for long term, but I'm open to short. I'm looking for short term. I'm looking for friends. Like it really explicitly lays out what they're looking for. And I think that is so important.
Oh, yeah.
So important.
Oh, yeah.
Because I sometimes, if I'm going through and I see, for instance, I'm looking, somebody says, I'm looking for long term.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And I think they're really cute. But I'm in a moment right then where I'm like, I don't know if I really want to be in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
I won't swipe right on them.
Exactly.
Because I'm not going to do that thing that we talked about. That's like, I'm going to just keep them as a virtual body.
Yes.
You know? Because it's like, that's not right.
Yeah,
you know?
No.
But if it's like, I'm looking for short term and I'm in a mood where I'm like, either I'm looking for long term, but I don't really give a fuck. I'll just add them to the list.
Yeah, why not?
Or like, I'm also looking for short term. I don't know if this will go anywhere, but like, I just want to see what happens. Then it's like no harm, no foul.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And it completely like, I feel like it. What am I trying to say here? I feel like it was very much needed because, like, think about how many people you know our age that are in situationships. I fucking hate that word. I hate the word situationship so fucking much. It's like, y'all are dating.
Yeah.
It's like, our generation has such bad commitment issues, we won't even use, like, the term dating. It has to be a situationship.
Well, the difference is someone's feelings are destined to get hurt.
They're destined to get hurt regardless. It's just we're using a funny little word now, and it allows people to cheat and not feel bad when the other person is like, you hurt me, and they're like,
yeah,
fuck
no,
you.
Yeah, literally,
fuck you, it was just a situationship. The thing that kind of like hit the nail on the head for me was funnily enough, a TikTok, and this guy was talking about how he took this girl that he was seeing regularly to a comedy show, and the comic, was doing crowd work and pointed at the girl and was like, "Are you here with your boyfriend?" And she's like, "No, we're in a committed situationship."
Fuck off.
Like,
fuck all the way
What
off.
does that mean?
A committed... Like, was that a joke?
No, it was dead ass. And the guy's TikTok was like him recounting like the night of him being absolutely fucking roasted because what the hell is a committed situationship? That's a relationship.
That doesn't exist.
That's a relationship.
Yeah.
You're dating.
Yeah, you're dating.
But thank God for Tinder because now we can use the word situationship.
That's wild.
Yeah.
In the sex lab, which I am a part of,
Slay.
and I won't say too much because I don't want to, like, some of this is public knowledge, but I also it's not my project, so I don't want to speak to it.
You
but
don't want to give up proprietary sex research.
Yeah. There's a project, and I think I've probably told you about this, but it's the Just Talking project because there is now this ongoing trend, i.e. situationship, in which people say, "Oh, we're just talking."
Yeah.
But it's like, what does that mean? Because there isn't a standard definition of what that means. Does that mean you are committed? Does that mean you are not committed? Does that mean you can sleep with other people? Does that mean you are on a road to a relationship? Like, it means vastly different things too. Like I guarantee if somebody took you, me, Maddie, Amelia, and all your roommates and put us all in separate rooms and asked us, what does it mean to be just talking to someone? None of us would give the same answer.
What does that mean to you?
To me?
Yes.
To me, it means that you are talking to someone. It is not necessarily exclusive, but you are on a path to be in a committed relationship.
That's so interesting.
It can have a sexual component, but I don't think the sexual component is the defining feature of it.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it literally means we are just talking.
Meaning?
We are having a conversation. Meaning I am getting a feel for you. You were getting a feel for me. Maybe we got coffee. That's it.
See, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see it as like a i.e. situationship. We have gone on we have been on many dates.
You're on the third date and you're like, we're talking?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think that's probably around the time that it gets... Like, if I went on 2 dates with someone, I don't think I would say that we're talking. I think talking is when it jumps past, like, a couple dates. Okay. And it's like, we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend in the coming months.
So for you, the talking stage lasts until the 1.5 date?
No.
No? It's further?
It starts on, like, the 4th date, and it goes until one of you introduces the other at a party, and it's like, this is my girlfriend.
That is so interesting. Because I feel like I would need to have an explicit conversation with someone about, like, what are we? I'm not going to wait for another person to be like, this is my girlfriend.
Yeah, that was partially a joke.
Okay.
I in all of my relationships have had the, like, are we boyfriend, girlfriend talk?
Are we dating?
Yeah,
please say yes, please say yes, please say yes.
That's another thing, too. We've kind of moved away from dating, from online dating.
I don't care. This is great.
I feel like, I remember talking to my mom, like, a while ago. I was, like, a preteen, probably. And I was talking about somebody, and I was like, well, are they boyfriend, girlfriend? And she was like, well, when you're an adult, you don't ask somebody to be your girlfriend.
What? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like,
and how do you know?
No,
but that's the difference, though, because I feel like in my mom's day, it was like, if you went on 3 dates with someone, or you had sex, that was your boyfriend.
Automatically.
I think.
That's so crazy because nowadays I feel like you go on 3 dates, you have sex, you go on a couple more dates, they stop talking to you, he gives you a booty call at 2 a.m., you have sex again, maybe you start dating, and then he's like, no, I want to see other people, and then you guys enter a weird middle phase where you're not talking for a couple months, and then you start talking again, and then maybe you have sex again, and then maybe you guys will decide to put a label on it, maybe.
But how do you initiate that
exactly.
label? Yeah.
You need to be drunk.
Yeah.
You need to be drunk. That's the thing.
I'm trying to think. All right. If any of my exes are listening,
stop.
Go away. No, I'm kidding. Some of you are fine. I've had three serious, like, you know, labeled relationships.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, we had a conversation where we were like, what do you want? I don't remember if it was like, will you be my
partner,
my ex-friend?
Yeah.
But will you buy? But
yep.
But yeah, we all of them had that explicit conversation.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting.
Because it adds so much, like, concreteness.
Absolutely. I feel like if there's not verbal confirmation, then people will just kind of, like, push their limits until it gets to a point where it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, well, like you fucking said, I think that's such a good way to put it, is like, oh, I slept with someone else, and then the other person is like, what the fuck? Why would you fucking do that? And then you have the authority to be like, well, we're not dating.
Exactly.
And that is the biggest anxiety for somebody who's anxious in early relationships already. That is the biggest fucking anxiety trigger. You know?
It's awful. It sucks. Because like I said, I feel like there's just way too much variability when it comes to, like, what people consider to be dating nowadays. Because I think when people think about dating, like, in the Lord's year of 2023, they automatically assume relationship, which I would say is very different from dating. My idea, there's, like, 3 separate stages, right? There's the talking stage where you are just getting to know someone. It is so extremely casual. It's like going out for coffee and chit-chatting. It's like an interview, right? You're getting to know the person. Second stage is you're dating. You go on dates, and you, like, are dating. You're actively going on dates. It's very literal. And then after you've gone on a couple dates, you decide to be in a relationship or not. And then that's when it gets concrete.
So when you're in a relationship, you wouldn't say that you're dating the person?
Well, I mean, you're still dating them. It's like how, what is it? All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Something like that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is crazy how we have different
and we're so similar.
I know. Isn't that so interesting?
I think it's just because, like, we've had vastly different experiences when it comes to dating. Like, I haven't really had, like, a super intense, like, real adult relationship yet. I just, like, have an idea in my head of what dating should be like. I've read a lot of romance novels.
It'll never be like what you think.
Well, obviously not. But I don't know. I have an idea in my head of what I think it should be like, and I have an idea of what it should not be like, because Lord knows my relationships in high school were fucking awful. And I'm done with dating apps, so I don't want to do that anymore. So I know what I don't want.
Yeah.
Will I ever get what I want? I don't know. Hopefully.
You will.
Someday.
You will. Okay, when you were on dating apps and you were actively looking for a partner, you weren't just, like, adding potties to your little roster. What was the biggest couple of things on a profile that you would be like, oh, hell yeah.
Hell
like,
yeah.
This is, like, a green flag for me.
Do you mean, like, appearance-wise, or, like, things they've written?
Both. Or, like, little things, you know, you could do little, like social smoker, like, you know, like those little things. Red flag.
Yeah. No. Let me think. I love tattoos and piercings. I'm an alternative bitch through and through.
Same.
Is what it is. I really, really look at the music. I think that is a big indicator of, like, someone's personality. So if you just put random shit on your Spotify linked, you're fucking stupid.
I agree. Yeah.
Because if I match with a man, or if I'm looking at a man's profile and I see that all of his, like, music is like really angry music, like music, usually what I'll do is I'll gauge whether or not they have any women in their, like, top listened to artists. And if they don't, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of a red flag.
That's funny you say that, because I've had women say to me, because I have my Spotify, I've had women say to me, like, I love all the women on your, like, they make it a point to say, like, all the women on your Spotify
because that is not the norm.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fucking, what do men listen to? It's Machine Gun Kelly.
It's Kendrick Lamar.
And but don't bring Kendrick into this. I love him.
Sorry.
No, it's just, like, random angry men making music. music, which is a red flag for me. What's another thing I like? If they have a pet, I think that's really cute. And I like if they crack a joke in their profile, because I think another really big indicator of personality is like wit and whether or not you can like laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you take yourself too seriously and I'm cracking jokes on the date, you're gonna get angry at me.
Yeah.
And that is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
And I don't want to date an angry person. I don't think anybody does.
No, I mean, that's a really good take.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that one guy you went on the date with when you would tell a joke and it would take him like 10 seconds to process it and then you would laugh.
That was so bad. That was a Hinge date. That was supposed
to be better.
Yeah, because
That's the app designed to be deleted. Or so they say.
Shut up. We're gonna have to beep that out. They don't get any free AdSense. But yeah, I talked to him for like a month and I was super excited because we had very similar interests. Like we were talking about how we both liked, like he was writing a fantasy novel and I was like, I draw, so I was like, this is so cute.
Yeah, that's like
can you imagine?
I would love that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, he's like really cute. However, number one, when we met in person, like Casey said, it took like at least four full like Mississippis, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, for my joke to like connect and for him to like go, huh.
Ew. That is so gross to me.
And he had taken his pictures on Hinge from a very specific angle to hide the fact that his eyes were so close together. You could probably put a penny in between them.
Oh, baby boy.
And it would touch.
Oh.
And it was a lot because I didn't realize until we met in person. I was like, ooh, this is bad. This is real bad.
But see, that's the thing about dating apps that is not a hot take, but is like so... It's so obvious that it shouldn't have to be said, but it's like so important. Is if you met this guy at a party, you would have A, noticed that he took 5 full seconds to process your jokes. B, that his eyes were so close together you could, you know what I mean? Like it's like
we would not have gotten to this point.
No. And again, I mean, in that case, like, no harm, no foul. He was not a serial killer. You went on one date. You were like, this is not going to work. And goodbye. Like, you know, nobody really lost from that.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's like, that is something that we just don't have in the same way on a dating app. Like, you cannot catch a person's vibe.
You cannot vibe check on Tinder.
You think you can?
Oh, you cannot.
You cannot.
Oh, you cannot.
Oh, you cannot.
I'm trying to think. I have a couple good Tinder dating stories I am willing to share.
Please.
I'm like, where do I even begin? Oh, did I ever tell you the story about the girl I went on a date with in Buffalo?
No.
All right, let's begin. I'm setting the scene. It's winter.
Buffalo.
It's winter in Buffalo. I think it's approaching Valentine's Day because I remember when I matched with this girl, I was like, I'm going to wear a pink sweater and I'm going to wear pink eyeshadow and I'm going to put together a whole pink outfit because I want to like give off love vibes. Because I thought she was so hot. She looked like just like the dykiest dyke that ever dyked. Snapback, collared shirt, cargo pants. I was like, oh my god, this is a lesbian. And so I was very excited to go on my first lesbian date in Buffalo with a lesbian. So,
as one does.
So I, am getting ready for this date. I'm super nervous and I'm talking to my roommate. And I'm like, if I'm not back by 9, text me and I'll let you know. Because I was so sure that I was going to be like getting some tonight. And, dear listener, that was not the case. I send her a message and I'm like, I'm getting ready. Like, I'll see you at 5:30 because that's what we agreed to meet. And she was like, okay, cool. I'll see you then. So I go down to wait for her at the place we agreed to meet. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And 20 minutes pass. And I'm standing there. And I'm like, starting to get a little nervous. I'm like, is she going to stand me up? No. On the 25th minute, she texts me. She's like, I'm outside. I was like,
oh.
cool, I guess. But I'll let it slide. You know, I'm still young. I'm still naive. I'm like, fine, whatever.
We're down a point, but it's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll let this slide. It's whatever. So I go out to her car and I get in. And first thing she says to me, it wasn't hi, it wasn't hello, it wasn't how are you. It was, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I can't wait to like go on a date with you. It's so good to meet you in person. I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And she just keeps going. And she just keeps going. And I was like, oh, hello.
You were so nervous. You showed up 25 minutes late.
Yeah,
Hi.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
because you had to do 3 lines before you picked me up.
Yes. And I was sitting there like being inundated with word vomit, just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sure. And she goes, oh, and by the way, I know we talked about going to that nice Italian restaurant, but we can't go there anymore because I got you something. And I was like, what? I was fully under the impression we were going to a home-style Italian restaurant. No. She decided, before our date, to make a pit stop at Spencer's.
Oh, my God.
And what do you think she got me? It's not gross.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had a couple of ideas. At Spencer's?
At Spencer's.
Like the one in the malls?
The one in the mall.
I don't know, a fucking Jack Sparrow t-shirt?
She got me a... Do you remember in high school the kids with the animal hats that had the mittens attached?
Oh my God. Wait, why couldn't she take you to the Italian restaurant? Because she
spent all her money on the hat.
Well, that was just a bad decision. No one asked you to do that.
I'm sitting in the passenger seat dumbfounded because she's explaining this to me as she's like brandishing the Spencer's bag in my face. And I was like, oh, that was nice. I take it and I open it and it's the Stitch hat with mittens attached.
God.
And I was like, thank you. That's very nice.
Had you talked before this about being into either hats or Stitch?
We hadn't talked about hats. We hadn't talked about Disney. We hadn't talked about Disney hats.
So this was just wrong.
It was out of the blue. It was out of left fucking field, as far left as it can get. And I was like, sure, great, thanks. And so after all of this, she's like, okay, since we can't go to the restaurant I was telling you about, or like the other like after date activities because I don't have any money, where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know, Taco Bell? And she's like, sure, we'll go to Taco Bell. So we go to Taco Bell. And I don't... we get there. I step out of the car. Dear listener, if you're not aware, I am like 5'2". I am 5'2" and 3/4. I'm standing there waiting for my hot date to appear. And I have to bend over.
No.
I have to bend over.
The hands of your Stitch hat hit the floor when you bend to kiss her.
Somehow... No, this was another case of careful camera angles because I didn't realize this girl was 4 foot nothing.
No.
4 foot nothing. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I'm in, like, a nice sweater. I'm wearing jeans. I have makeup on, and she's in a fucking gray sweatsuit.
Oh!
In the Taco Bell parking lot!
And you prepared, and you thought, I'll wear pink for love.
She's in a gray sweatsuit, and we walk into Taco Bell, and she's like, hey, do you think these sweatpants make my ass look fat? And I was like, what?
Ew.
I was like, what? So... safe to say, by the end of the night, I was not pleased. I had chalupa sauce on my sweater.
You had a Stitch hat on your head.
I surely did not. I put that in the back seat as soon as she handed it to me. I was so upset. And we get back into her car, and she was like, so babe, and she puts her arm on my leg. You want to come back to my place? And I was like, thinking in my head, right? Because at this point, I was still very much an avid consumer of true crime. I'm like, I'm getting taken to a secondary location.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. And I was like, why don't we go back to my place?
Oh.
Because I wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, great. we go back to mine, and she's like, okay, where should I park? And I put my hand on her thigh this time. And I was like, you're not coming back with me. You're not coming back with me. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm sure there's someone out there that is very nice, and you will find your person, but it is not me. And she started crying.
She cried?
And I got out of the car and I walked away.
Did she text you or no?
My roommate expected me to be back at 9. I was there by 6:30.
Oh my! This was like an hour.
I was there by 6:30. And that was the end of my first lesbian dating adventure in Buffalo.
Was she from Buffalo?
Yes.
Do you know? We have a friend.
I know.
Yeah. This is probably her ex.
No. I feel like I would have remembered if it was their name.
Yeah.
But no, it was an experience to say the least.
And that's, like I said, if you had met this person at a party.
Oh, yeah.
There was no way you would have gone on a date with them. And if you had gone on a date with them, I don't think they would have bought you well, maybe they would have. But I don't think they would have bought you a Stitch hat.
Ideally, it would not have been as weird. However, it makes for a great story.
It does. And that's what a lot of these experiences are.
Exactly.
A lot of these things now I look back on and I'm like, everyone was safe. Mm-hmm. And boy, do I have stories for the grandkids.
I do have a story.
You know? Yeah. Oh, God. You never told me that.
I can't believe I didn't. That's one of my favorite, like, party trick stories. You know what I mean?
It's well, we can't go out to dinner, but I got you something.
But I got you something, and I really hope you like it.
And then it's, like, not jewelry.
It's a black Spencer's plastic bag being shoved in your face repeatedly. Like, take it.
Oh, God.
Do you have any stories worth sharing, Casey?
The only one that I feel comfortable telling on the pod is, because there are a few, is one that I might have told on an earlier episode once, but essentially I invited this little twink boy to my fucking RA dorm room when I was an RA.
Oh no.
On campus.
Oh no.
And he looked cute on the apps, as they always do.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over, and we sat on my bed. He wanted to watch an episode of House, so we watched an episode of House, which was already, like, the pilot of House, which is already, like, a really big red flag.
Yeah.
And then he told me about how he wants to be a debt buyer. So he wanted to purchase poor people's debt.
I feel like we did discuss this.
Yeah. And I the whole time was just like, oh.
Cool. Oh.
And he was like, yeah, like, I got into, like, Harvard, but, like, I decided not to go. And he was like, my family, we're from Long Island, and we just have so much money that, like, I wanted to get away from New York State.
Another red flag.
Yeah, all of those things. So I was just like, oh, okay. And then he left, and he's the only person I've ever ghosted.
That's crazy.
Which I feel really good about for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I remember talking about this because you're like, yeah, that's the only person I've ever ghosted.
Yeah.
And I was like, sounds fake, but okay. Congratulations.
No, well, okay, but then there's ghosting because you haven't talked long enough for it not to be ghosting. Or for it to, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those people, like I talked about, you match with them, maybe you have a few conversations, but then, like, it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. And they message you and you just never respond. And I wouldn't really consider that ghosting because I don't think there's enough stakes in it. I've
also ghosted people for personal safety, which I don't think counts as ghosting.
No, and if it does, it's completely valid.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There was one more dating app thing I wanted to discuss.
And what's that?
Have you ever heard of the app called... Give me a minute. Sorry. I had it pulled up because I thought about it. It's called, so it's an app for, you have to, like, get, like, pre-approved.
Oh, is this the one for celebrities?
Yeah.
I think I've heard of this.
Oh,
I've,
like,
seen...
what's it called?
Is it Raya?
Raya.
Yeah.
Raya. Yeah.
I've seen it on TikTok. People talking about, like, yeah, I matched with, like, a micro celebrity that's into kombucha, and we went on a date, and it was bad.
I want to be on Raya.
I don't think the grass is greener. I think it's just more expensive.
Oh, I agree. But I think it would make for the most insane stories.
Yeah.
I think it would make for the coolest stories.
Can you imagine, like, Undercover Boss, except it's your middle class on Raya?
No.
I think it'd be fun.
I would love.
I would pay so much money.
I don't think you have to be a celebrity either. I think you just have to be successful in some way. So, like, I think if you were, like, a well-respected, like, doctor.
If you were a well-respected graduate student in the Binghamton University sex lab working on their first novel.
Would you like to talk about AIDS?
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
You make kombucha here.
I would love to be on that.
That would be so fun.
Any other dating app tidbits?
Well, I have something like dating app adjacent. What was your first introduction to, like, internet dating, Casey?
Oh, on Club Penguin.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend named Love Puffle.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yep. She was blonde.
She was blonde.
We dated, though, consistently on Club Penguin. We dated for, like, several years.
How did you do that?
Well, we would just, like, she would be, everyone, like, we, whatever, met and went on little dates at the pizza parlor. And then every once in a while, coincidentally, we would just be online at the same time. And we would, like, meet up somewhere on the Club Penguin Island. And we would, like, just, like, hang out and be boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh, my God, that's my Club Penguin boyfriend.
Oh, Love
Oh, my
Puffle.
God.
We had simulated cyber
No, you
sex on
didn't.
Club Penguin.
How do you even do that?
We got naked. Our penguins got naked. And then we would dance. Because there's the little option to dance.
You would dance on top of each other?
On top of each other. And I was a child. And I didn't really know what that meant.
How old were you?
8, 9.
So funny.
I didn't really know what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And either she was an adult or she was, you know, groomed by someone else and learned how to do that on there.
That's so crazy.
But yeah.
That is so crazy.
Did you have online boyfriend girlfriends?
Well, my first introduction to cyber dating, was on Animal Jam, which, if you don't know, is basically Club Penguin, but for PBS, because as we discussed, I was not allowed on Disney Channel, so I was not allowed to access Pop Tropica. I was not allowed to access Club Penguin because Pop Tropica gave my home PC a virus. My parents were like, "Fuck Pop Tropica."
Fuck Pop Tropica.
So
I love Pop Tropica.
I was able to use Animal Jam, which was like Club Penguin, but it was run through National Geographic. So you could be like a tiger or a wolf or a bunny. And my thing is I would go on Animal Jam and I would switch into a bunny skin and be like a little tiny rabbit. And I would go into the community square of Animal Jam and I would be like, I am so lonely. I am an orphan. Please adopt me.
They did that on Club Penguin too. That was like a thing. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, please adopt me. I need a mom and dad. And inevitably someone in a wolf skin with like a bunch of like really expensive cosmetics would come along. And they would be like, I will adopt you. And I would be like, okay. And they would be like, come to my house. And I would be like, okay.
I love you, Mom.
I love you, Mom. And I would go to their house and I would get them to give me things.
Such as?
Like expensive cosmetics that I couldn't purchase because I had the free version of the game. So I would get them to give me furniture and outfits.
Oh my God.
Like, other random shit because I'd be like, Mom, I really need a pair of headphones.
I'm a teenager now.
I really need the Animal Jam skirt with the cheetah print on it.
Wait, what's that? Pinocchio. It's like, I'm a grown boy.
I'm a real boy.
On my own. Yeah.
When can I be on my own? But yeah, I did that for a while. I didn't really date anyone on Animal Jam. I was just like, I was just not interested in it. I was like, why would I do that when I can scam people? So I did that for a while. But I remember very distinctly, this is another story where I was on my Kindle Fire after bedtime, and I was playing...
Brian, Brenda, Mr. and Mrs. Walensik.
Get your girl! Get her ass! But I was playing a game that was like Clash of Clans adjacent. I think it was called like Castle Royale or something like that. And the entire premise was you had a base and you had, like, champions that would battle for you, blah, blah, blah. The premise isn't important. But I was really good at the game. I was fucking stacked and racked, and I was very proud of it. And I remember specifically after I had joined this one guild, this one guy whose name was, like, Master Crystal 88 or something like that messaged me and was like, yo, Lore Bear Abato, do you have Snap? And I was like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
I was like, oh my god. he wants me so bad because I'm so good at Clash Royale.
And I'm a woman.
And I'm a woman. I'm a gamer girl. And I remember
I'm a Kindle Fire. Oh.
And I texted my friend Jay on Kick. And I was like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. I don't have a Snapchat, but I want to talk to this guy because his champions are really cool and I think he thinks I'm cute, but I don't know what to do. And Jay...
I had no idea what you looked like.
And it was like 1 a.m. And Jay was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, I need your Snapchat so I can speak to him, like, right now. And Jay was like, what? And so we messaged back and forth a couple more times, and he was like, do you have Snap? And I was like, no. And he was like, give me your Snap. And I was like, no. And then by the end of it, he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to kill myself now. And I was like, what?
This is his dad? He just killed himself.
And I was like, what? Because I was 11 or something like that. And basically that happened. It was like, this is his brother Kyle.
Why is that a thing people did?
He killed himself, but he really wants your Snap. And I was like, oh my god, I killed him.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere after that. I was like, you're lying. And then I blocked him.
Because you didn't give him your Snap.
Because I didn't give him
Because you didn't have a Snap because you were 11.
Because I was 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first introduction to online dating. And here I am, still single. So.
And here you are still single.
I don't know what that says about me, but it sure says something.
And then about that, too, about being 11, online dating like that, all of my first relationship, like real relationships in middle school with, like, you know, little 11-year-old girls, whatever, we talked exclusively on, like, Kick.
That's crazy.
And we would see each other in school, and we would be, like, too shy to, like, actually speak to each other. Or we would just be like, hey...
And then you could go on Kick and be saying shit?
Yeah, and it'd be like, maybe we'll hug tomorrow. Like, we would, like, find a time to, like, hug, and it would be, like, a huge fucking thing, and then we, like, wouldn't speak in person, but we would, like, message on Kick that night and be like, I love you, baby.
That's crazy.
And, like, what does that mean for our generation, too? Like, I don't know if our parents' generation were, like, doing the same thing and then, like, writing love letters and not actually speaking to each other in person. But
definitely
like,
not to the same extent.
Right?
Because they didn't have an excuse not to, like, just speak to other people, you know what I mean?
And they weren't sending physical mail to each other and then avoiding each other in school.
Because you would have to, like, build some kind of relationship before you could send the fucking letter back then.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good... I might write a paper.
Okay. Send it to me.
Because, yeah, what does that mean for us? Y'all, you academics, I'm copywriting this. Don't you even think about writing a paper
Other
about
grad
this.
students listening, stop.
What's the date? It's February 8th, 2023, and I'm about to write a paper about this. Claimed. What does that mean for us to, our generation, now, bringing it full circle, having these bad, relationships on Tinder, not being able to speak to each other, not knowing what it is, having situationships, quote unquote, is the same generation that grew up with this technology for the first time and had early relationships that were exclusively on Kick and Snapchat.
Oh, I can't wait for you to dissect that. I want to read all about it.
And maybe there's nothing there, but I think there might be.
I think there is. Man, I kind of liked not having a script this episode.
Me too. It's kind of fun to just chat.
I know.
Magnum After Dark.
I know. I wonder what the little Magnum bitches will think.
Oh, we have listener write-ins.
Oh, fuck, we do. Shit. Where's my phone?
Love Puffle, if you're listening, I think about you every day.
Listener write-in?
Listener write-in.
What do we got, Casey?
So our one friend, our dear, lovely friend, sent us a little Magnum BI DM, which if you haven't, you should do that and tell us all of your stories. She said, a man I went on a date with sophomore year talked about my long legs the whole time and fetishized that I was like 2 inches taller than him. And then was like, when will I see you again? And I said, maybe. And he said, maybe. It's okay. I can tell you like me. And then tried to walk me back to my dorm. And then she also added, me hooking up with a guy who immediately sat up and threw up all over my wall by the nightstand and on my plants and my floor and my water bottle. And felt so bad that he bought me a new one the next day, a plant the same kind.
What in the fuck?
Because he was playing Rattling Bog with red wine earlier in the night.
Not the red wine!
Not the Rattling Bog red wine.
Oh, God, that's atrocious.
It's a hellscape out here, bro.
Wow. Okay, well, I don't know how that makes me feel, but I guess we're done.
Yeah. Not that was a clean cut at the end.
Yeah.
But,
what are we talking about next week?
Next week?
Yeah.
Really quick, too. Sorry, before I do that, I just want to add, we didn't really touch on safety in this episode.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
the perils of dating online. But, like, be safe,
Oh,
too.
yeah, for sure.
Please be safe.
Yeah, always be telling people where you're going, who you're meeting up with. Never meet in a, like, secondary location for your first date. Always meet in public.
Yeah. And if you're gonna, if it's a situation where you are just there to have sex and, you know, it's a hookup type situation, send a location
Oh, yeah,
to your friend.
it's that easy.
Be safe.
Just be like, oh, here's my Life 360.
Yeah.
If you don't hear from me by 2 a.m., please call the police.
Yeah. There are so many tips and tricks online. Like,
Yeah.
you know, anyway, next week we are going to be talking about something that forever shaped my life. And I will, yeah, it just has had the most long-lasting impact on me of pretty much anything. But we're going to be talking about Tumblr and hipster culture.
You're kidding. We're finally doing this
We're
episode?
finally doing this
Oh
episode.
my God, I'm so excited.
And not for nothing, we're starting the episode with a little short story that I wrote to set the scene.
Oh my God. Wait, can we
A
look,
vignette, if you will.
Can we look back at your old blog?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes!
Oh, God, yeah,
Woo!
we can.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I can't wait. In the meantime, where can they get more mag if they want it?
More mag. They
More
can follow at Magnum BI Pod on Instagram and TikTok. They can email us, magnumbipod@gmail.com.
Yep.
They can send us DMs and or emails about all of their most formative hipster era
Yeah,
experiences.
talk to me about what sect of Tumblr you were a part of.
Yeah.
Because I was not in the hipster aesthetic blog portion. I was in the anime homestuck portion, which was also extremely formative for me, but in extremely detrimental ways. So if you were in a subsect of Tumblr, talk to us about it.
Please. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And of course, they can find us every Friday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify
And YouTube.
and YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I guess all that leaves is for us to say Magnum BI.
Bye. Bye.